Welcome back to Advent of Tessellations. Today is day 16 and we're going to be folding a pattern that I call open suns. So let's jump on in. We've got another day of these open rhombi twists. Then we'll get a break from them for the next 5 days and then come back to them for 3 more days and last day end on closed rhombi. So what's the structure here? We've got our closed hexagon on the back feeding into open rhombi on the front that feed into open triangles on the back. So let's start to fold. I'm going to flip my paper over to the smoother crease side instead of the rougher crease side because I prefer to have this as the back side. And start with my closed hexagon twist. So setting up the pleat with the mountain going exactly to the corner, valley above it, fold past that off to my left hand, do the next, and the next. And at this point, I can see that all of the mountains are coming towards this central point, which is the center of my paper, center of the hexagon. And I'm going to encourage the paper to have all 6 of those in place before I lay the paper back down on my desk and start working these pleats around. And when they're about 2 spaces from the top of the tower to the bottom of the tower, I'm just going to grab that hexagon and twist it around. Now this is trying to fight me here, but I'm going to make sure that everything is laying on the grid lines as we want it to and get that all the way down. And here I'm using my bone folder just to smooth things out, make sure everything is fully folded before I flip over to the other side. And I can see I've got a little wrinkle there. I can open back up, use my bone folder, close it, and that is resolved. So we want to fold our open hexagon and we want to leave tube pleat spacing here. So our valley is going to go 1 spacing out from the folded mountain, and the mountain 1 spacing further. In this in the open rhombus, what we're aiming for is that anvil shape that I've got mostly outlined here. And so we're going to have our mountains coming off along the tube, 1 spacing up, or 1 spacing off of the pleat from the central hexagon. So we come up and it jumps over 1, valleys on the other side, and parallel to the tube, so these are in the same direction, we have our remaining pleat going over the top of the anvil. And once we have that in place, we can go ahead and squash our rhombus twist. We are working really close to the edge, so I'm taking care to squash the interior bit first and then push out towards the edge. Once I've got that in place, we want to be aware of how we're setting up our overlaps, which side our next twist is on. And the next twist is going to be on the back side, so it's going to be easier to come around and open the bottom of the tube, setting up our next open rhombus, another way to see this is it's like I'm setting up for an open hexagon here. See these 2 points? And also, my mountain is going to go straight to the corner, the fat corner of the previous rhombus. Now, I want to draw attention to a fact right now that this is going to be the same property that we see on day 25 when we do the just rhombi star. And this is going to cause a triangle wrap. I am going to wrap over the corner so the entire mountain fold disappears, and I end up with an intersection of valleys down below. So I've gone from this to this, and I have 2 spacings between my phantom mountain and my valley of the wrap. So this is what I call a double depth wrap. And then I can finish setting up my next open rhombus, again squashing towards the center first, and then squashing out towards the edge. And I'm going to repeat that move as I put in more and more of these rhombi. So rotating around, I'll find my tube, then I'll find the grid line 2 spacings up that continues out to the left, hits the corner of the next rhombus, where the pleat from the old rhombus wraps around, causes a double depth pleat, and tucks into place. Then I shift my mountain on the grid line from the hexagon over 1 spacing, and squash the next rhombus. And I'm going to keep on going around and doing that for each of my rhombi. Now, when I get 4 of these in, so I've got 4, my 5th one, as I bring up my tube, I notice is really close to this pleat that's already in place. And that's fine. I'm just going to let that tube come up and over. This is going to be very dense in here. And I find that grid line that goes straight to the corner of the neighboring rhombus, pop down into the wrap, shift the mountain from the hexagon over a spacing, and then squash everything. We've got a lot of layers in this area, so I'm going to be a little extra careful when I'm squashing. Oh, got a teeny tiny tear on the edge because I wasn't being careful enough. Yes, it happens even to me. And now we're on our 6th and final rhombus, and we're going to need to have a triangle wrap on both sides. So first things first, we need to open up all of these pleat overlaps. So notice that when I opened this, I actually reordered. I put the pleat from the new rhombus through first. And I'm not going to fold the other one back because I need to cross it and create the triangle wrap for the tube, and then I can put that parallel pleat. So before I move too fast, so I've got this pleat going out. In order to have a tube, I need a valley 2 spacings from the other valley, which is in here. And so that valley is my reference. I'm going to pop down at the valley, let the valley run all the way until it hits another valley. Those then go off together. And above these folds, we get mountains 1 spacing away. So our valley comes through and the mountains have to be next by or nearby. With that in place, I can set up my triangle wrap with the previous rhombus, just like we have been doing. And what actually happens here is instead of a valley going on this mountain line when I put the next pleat in, the valley goes all the way down to the valley of the wrap. So I would have another mountain here and valley here. But the mountain that was there before and the valley that we want to put there now cancel each other out. And so I get the double depth pleat under my rhombus. And this is a very pretty star if you want to stop here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over to the opposite side, and everything is the same the whole way around. We don't need to flip in any particular way. And I'm going to take one of these 3-way intersections, and instead of doing a closed twist, I'm going to shift the free mountain out 1 spacing, put the valley on the far side, and squash from there. And you can see this is giving me some trouble because I am really close to the edge. What I want to do is make sure that my valley here is in the right location, and then I can flatten each corner in turn, focusing on the more central corners first and working my way out. And there's a reason why I chose an open twist instead of a closed twist, and that's because the open twist is the only one that has the same interaction with both of these rhombi. Then I'll flip, or I'm going to do all of these triangles, so you don't need to flip back and forth to look at it, but if you do, then we're back on the hexagon and triangle side. And again, I'm just making very sure that all of my valleys are in the right place so that all of my mountains can go in the right places. So I'm shifting this mountain over to this grid line. The valley will be on the far side of that mountain, and we can squash from there. And rotate and do it again. And it doesn't matter which triangle you do next. You could like do one triangle, then do the one on the opposite side. You could do every other one. You could do them whatever way you want because they're not going to be interacting with each other. It's just like in the HTRT tiling when we had our rhombi that we were finishing up at the end. Didn't matter what order you did them because they were all independent. And bringing everything right along. We have all 6 triangles, all 6 rhombi, and that is open suns. A very fun pattern for my birthday. Happy folding. Tomorrow we're going to be working on, back in the HTRT tiling, we're going to increase the density and start folding things closer together. I will see you then.